A presidential launch on Twitter is a first. What do you make of this choice?
Well, thanks again for having me, and hello to everybody in Australia. It's an interesting choice, and it kind of follows a pattern that, Governor DeSantis has been very selective in what media he allows any sort of access. There's been an ongoing frustration with the Florida press corps, where he flat out refuses to take questions, refuses interviews, refuses to sit down with them. So doing his presidential launch in the most controlled of environments, I mean, Twitter Spaces doesn't even have video. It's just audio only. And you can only, access it if you're, online on the Twitter platform. So it's a unique choice for sure.
It is indeed. And moderated by a tech magnate, David Sachs, who is also a DeSantis donor. So it sounds like it could be a slightly soft landing for DeSantis.
Yeah, and some of what he's done over the past couple of weeks, he's gotten some criticism. His international tour got landed with a bit of a thud. He got some criticism, got some not so flattering portrayals in the British press, for example. But even people that would normally be his allies, some of them are scratching their heads over this. Just this morning, earlier, Fox and Friends, the Fox News morning program, the hosts on that show were like, "What's Twitter Spaces? I've never used Twitter Spaces." So
I don't think many people have. It really is an interesting one. But it also sort of kind of shows you this new media shift. And it seems as if DeSantis wants to do things his own way. He's going to go on Fox after that launch, I believe.
Right.
But he wants to do things differently. He's trying to sort of set himself almost as this younger, hipper, doing things differently kind of candidate versus his older rivals, first Trump and then potentially Biden.
And that's absolutely true. But, the fact of the matter is that, Donald Trump was absolutely a juggernaut on Twitter, whether you liked him or hated him. Every single tweet he wrote made massive amounts of news. DeSantis has two Twitter accounts, a personal political one for his campaign and his official one as governor. And those don't usually generate the same kind of headlines. So it's an interesting choice. David Sachs is part of that so-called PayPal mafia, those tech bros with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and the rest of them that have made an awful lot of money on these big technology companies and have also faced a lot of criticism from the right for the way that they've managed those companies. So it's an interesting alliance.
It is indeed. As you pointed out, DeSantis is running into a fair bit of trouble with some of his policies. We've talked about before about his battle with Disney. Now, that's big business.
Yeah.
What messages are going to send America's business community?
That's been one of the big criticisms he's gotten, and even from friendly quarters like Fox News and the Wall Street Journal and other right-leaning media outlets. The war with Disney, keep in mind, people should look up how this started. It was one press release over one bill, and there wasn't even any action taken after that press release. And what's gone on is now we have two lawsuits, one that Disney filed in federal court and one that the puppets that DeSantis appointed to the board to try to take over the special taxing district filed in state court. It's going to be millions of dollars of litigation costs for the taxpayers, and the whole thing is just it seems very absurd. And people have criticized it. One of DeSantis's big marketing points was that he kept the state open earlier during all the COVID stuff and fought, opposed some of the more restrictive kind of things. But to go after a private business like this over a free speech issue and over such a small thing, it just really seems to be a lot of drama and mess, and contrary to the message he was trying to establish.
Indeed. We also heard tonight that Donald Trump's trial date for the hush money case is going to be set for March 2024. He's, of course, claiming this is election interference, which is an interesting comment from him. But how is this going to impact the primaries and what this might mean for this battle between DeSantis and Trump?
Well, Donald Trump has proven himself to be a unique, unique doesn't even begin to cover it, a absolutely singular candidate in the history of American and even world politics. He got indicted and his poll numbers went up. So, when he was in the White House and there were these different allegations floating around, the argument was that, well, you can't prosecute, you can't indict a sitting president. And now that he's out, the excuse is, well, you can't come after me because I'm a political candidate and you're interfering with the election. And so whether he wins or loses this time, is the excuse going to be that you can't come after me because I'm a former president and that would hurt my feelings? There's a point where obviously, like any sort of, criminal action does have an effect on the election. In Donald Trump's case, it does seem to benefit him in a bizarre way. I don't entirely understand it. It is just a very, very weird, strange time that we're living in, and it's going to be a roller coaster this next year and a half.
That is for sure. It is, I think, a mystery to most of us. Trump remains the preferred candidate of the Republican Party at this point, and I'm wondering, DeSantis is trying, obviously, to impact differently, but at the same time, he's very conservative policies. Just now, he's banned the poem of that beautiful young poet that captivated the world at Joe Biden's inauguration. This is the state of Florida. Educators are leaving the state in droves because of the crackdown on so many parts of their ability to educate. There's the abortion ban. Could some of those policies bite him in his battle against Trump, or even if he should win the nomination?
Absolutely. And, some of those policies are the kind of thing that get you on Fox News and get a lot of excitement from conservative donors and conservative pundits, and are general election poison. So, the way that a lot of these policies have been enacted, in the specific case of Amanda Gorman's book, they've set up a system where one unhappy parent can end up getting a book ban for an entire school or entire county. And when you look at the actual content, some of the things that have been objected to, you can understand why somebody objected, but in the specific case of the Amanda Gorman book, there's nothing obscene or violent in that book. I gave it to a dear friend of mine for Christmas last year. These are the kind of things DeSantis has to carve into Trump's base to have a chance at the nomination. But everything he does to try to attract attention and to try to do that ends up making it harder for him to tack back to the center in a general election. So it's a real double-edged sword.
Yeah. Sarah, really great to see you again. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.